Hello, 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 everyone. This is Nathaniel Thomas Ford, back to you again for the uplifting and encouraging men. I am back today to share with you my second episode. So, once again, I am excited to be able to be on this platform, to be able to share my point of view and my views, and hopefully to be able to hear from you guys as well. This is the second episode, as I said. This is for me to open myself up to you guys and get to know you, so you can know that whose voice you listening to. Like I said, anytime you can always reach out to me through social media. I will have all of my links out there. Before you are hearing this platform over about 10 different social medias avenues, so I'm actually thoroughly excited about that. But let's dive into it. I wanted to take the time and really open up to you guys. My first episode was kind of just giving you who I am, but this episode is going to be me opening up to you guys, letting you guys know some things that I have gone through and still working on in my life today. Like I said, this is all about encouraging and uplifting men. And if women are listening, absolutely great. I love that. This can actually help anyone. Like I said, if anything that I can say or do to help someone to be able to go through this thing called life a little bit easier, I'm all for that. I don't have all the answers. Like I said in my previous episode, I am not a doctor. I'm just a guy that took some time, um, went through life, going through life, and document my way through social media and through my personal journal entries and all that good stuff. And just me sharing that with you guys because I don't think we share enough. Today, I think we're always telling people, oh, you can do this, and oh, you can be that, oh, you can be this millionaire, but we really don't tell people the struggle that we went through to get to that point. I'm not saying that I'm a millionaire. One day I'm putting that out in the universe. That would be great. That would give me a better opportunity to be able to reach more people and help more people. But like I said, I don't think we share enough, especially as men. We were taught, I was taught to keep stuff in, be tough, don't tell everybody your problems and what you're going through. That's a sign of weakness. But actually, I've learned getting it out there is more therapeutic than you sitting there trying to deal with all of this yourself. And what I've seen is in my life, situations, circumstances often made me feel like I was isolated. It was just me going through this, which was no more than the truth than anything. So I had to take that power back and start talking to people. When I say start talking to people, I started talking to my counselors. I've spent over about 25 years in counseling. I've found some amazing leaders, um, Baptist leaders like my pastor that I have, not only him, but another pastor that I had. She had been very instrumental in me and my journey and me and my struggle. I felt like I could talk to them about everything that was going on with me. And I think that is very important for us to have individuals that we can talk to and express things to. That is definitely very helpful. So let's dive right into it today. What I want to talk to you guys about is my road of recovery. What do I mean by that? My road of recovery. About 5 years ago, I was addicted to pain pills. I was a former dancer, cheerleader, um, and my back had a lot of issues to the point where doctors told me that I really should have surgery, like a broken tailbone, lower back, sciatic nerves, all of that stuff. And I never did because I was the type of person, if I'm going to do something, what is the percentage of it correcting the problem as to just still having pain? Because I'm really funny about my body. When I say I'm really funny about my body, I want to do things that is going to help me instead of just doing a 50% surgery that may correct some of the issues. That's not good enough for me. So I endured and still to this day endure a lot of pain. But I was actually taking pain pills as a way of just, I thought, numbing the pain, making it manageable for me to do what I was doing. At that time, at the height of my career, I was in retail management. I was opening stores, closing stores, 3 months here in this city, 3 months here in this city, 3 months here in this city. So I was not really in a great stable environment to be able to manage the problem and know that there was a problem. I was also going through bad relationships, bad breakup, family issues trying to find who I was as a person, as a man, as a gay black man. It was just a lot that was going on. And I didn't realize that I was using the pills to mask all the pain and the hurt and to be able to do what I thought I was able to do. At that time, I would consider myself a very, if you watch Olivia Pope, that character that was on TV. I felt like I was that person. I felt like I was the shut it down, to close it, to fix it for everybody else. But nobody was there to help me. I was not there to help me. I was too busy trying to be it for everybody else except myself. And I remember one day I was hurting and I had traveled like 4 hours from this city driving to get to this city the next day to get set up, to get ready, to be ready to open a store and train a whole new team of like 100+ people in about 2 weeks to get them ready to open this store and to get the stores being built and all that stuff. And family issues was at the highest. And I remember and all of the medicine that I was taking was prescription. And that was the scary part about it. They were all prescription medication like Lortab. That was one of the main things that I was taking for my back. And it was as needed. That's like telling a child, just leaving a child in a house, just, oh, well, just do whatever you want. And so no one was there to watch me and manage me. And I was not managing myself. I'm not going to put that blame on someone else. That's my thing. So I remember the height of my days. My days were 10, 12, 14 hours days. I was taking about 6 to 9 pills a day just to keep me up, keep me going, keep me moving, keep me on top of things, because I felt like at that time there was no downtime for me. I couldn't not do what needed to be done because it was I was the only person able to do what I needed to do and that I was doing in that point in my life. So I realized, I was like, wow, this is not good. I remember making that observation, but I kept going. I kept taking, I kept using. And then there was a point in my life where the relationship I was in, the person was really ill, and I was working, trying to take care of them, trying to take care of him and be there. And he subsequently ended up in the hospital for a long period of time and ended up in a coma. To me, as a partner, that was my rock bottom. I had kind of stepped away from work for a minute and came to be there for him by his side. And we were fiancés at that point. My name wasn't on anything. His family actually came in and took control over everything and kind of left me on the outs and all of that crazy stuff. And that I was in a new city. The person that I loved was pretty much at a vegetative state at that point. It was cancer. I didn't know anyone. I had took time away from my job. So I was just like a sitting duck. I had nowhere to go. And it was just my rock bottom moment. And I remember at that moment, I've always been a person that I never really challenged God on a lot. I will always ask him to give me the strength to endure whatever it is I need to endure, to make me better, to make me understand the process, to learn from it, to get me closer to him. And that's all I was praying at that time. My prayers was very, when I say broken, it was from a place of hurt, a deep hurt, a hurt that I never felt before in my life. Sometime, and I don't know if you guys have ever felt this way, but at that point in my life, I felt like I was so low that suicide wasn't even an option. Suicide to me was up here. I was like down here. I couldn't even think through the process to even do it. But I knew I was at a low. I knew I was broken, deeply broken. But in the same token, I prayed to God to give me the strength to be able to find some people in that community of Jacksonville, Florida, to help me. I humbled myself to the point where I think I was so low that only thing I could do was just utter the word help me, please. And I found this place called City Rescue Mission in Atlanta. And by this time, like I said, I was there for like 30, 45, almost 60 days before I connected with them that I was homeless. I was pretty much there at the hospital right by that person's side, trying to care for him and be there for him. When the family came in, I just pretty much went downstairs in that lobby area and just sat there. Um, Once again, I had my car with my things in it, but I was still homeless. I was homeless in a new city with nowhere to go. I was so low. And I want to explain something to you guys. Life has a way of teaching you what you need to learn. Life has a way of humbling you to the point where things that you thought you wouldn't do and you would never do, life has a way of making you do those things. I had property that I owned. I had a family back in Alabama that loved me, that was there for me, that would open their arms for me to come into. But I was so low that I didn't have the skills to be able to make a decision to go and drive 10 hours to be there with them or them be there for me and help me through it. I was still, like I said, just damaged. So I remember looking up in my phone, looking for shelters, looking up for homeless shelter, looking up for um, anything that could help me to be able to help to make it to another point. I just felt like I was in a standstill. I couldn't move. I was hurt. I was broken. I couldn't make a decision. But I was smart enough to know that I needed to get to an environment where people could help me through what I was going through. So I found City Rescue Mission. Reached out to them, asked them what I needed to do um, to be able to get help from them. And they walked me through over the phone what needed to do. Like I needed to come in as an overnight guest and stay for a certain period of time. Then I will meet with the director and they, based upon my situation on my need, they will be able to give me something called the Life Builder system, where they will allow you to come in and get that inpatient therapy that you needed. Ultimately, I showed up every day, did it everything I needed to do, and made it through that. And they allowed me to come in to get that therapy that I needed. The therapy ended up being a full year. That was one of the best decisions that I made in my life. One of the best decisions I made in my life was going into that system, going into that, when I say that system, going into that program to get that help that ministry, that love, that faith build um, skills, that love, that clean environment, secure, private from everybody else, where I was able to tackle the things that was going on in my life. And when I tell you, I honestly thought it was me being addicted to pills or me being broken, but there was so much that had to be unpacked, dealt with. This was more intense therapy that I had to go through, where it was every day, 5 days a week. And then also on the weekends, where I would have to go through therapy and working through the things that I was going through. I thought the pain pills, I thought the broken relationship was the issues. No, they were the outcome of some deep hurt, traumas, situations that happened in my life from a young man, a young boy, all the way up to where I was in my 40s, that haven't been dealt with and undressed and unpacked and talked about and cried about and examined and looked at. So those people at City Rescue Mission in Jacksonville, Florida, helped me through that point in time. And I'm so grateful to this day of what I went through with them, because not only was I able to learn from my hurt and my pain, I was able to be able to help others through theirs by becoming a brother to brothers who needed it as well. And to this day, I stay in contact with some of my brothers that I went through that program with. So just to give you guys some numbers, every year, over about 200,000 cases of opioid um, overdoses happen in this country. On a daily basis, about 136 people die from opioids overdose. So it is very serious. Every Addiction is very serious and it's a livelihood of taking you out. I've lost a lot of people along the way of my journey. And December, I will celebrate 5 years of being clean and sober. So I'm really happy about that. That's 5 years of a lot of intense work. Um, People ask me what did I do to be able to make it to this point. Every day waking up giving glory to God, every day of waking up and saying that you know something is a possibility for me to use, but I choose not to. There are some prescriptions still out there to this day, probably, and take about a year for them to expire, where I could reach out and get some pain pills if I wanted to, but I don't. I've learned how to live my life without those pills. Do I still have pain? Absolutely. But I've learned to take ibuprofen, Excedrin, or something like that to make it over it. Stretching, meditating, yoga, doing a lot of stuff like that. Staying as physically fit as I can has helped with the back pains and with the pains. Um, so that's what I've been using to get through all of this. It's funny. I was talking to my sister, Selena, who is my best friend. Like me and her kind of, I'm 45, she's 47. Like we've been not just sisters and brothers, but just best friends for a long time. She said, "Are you going to share your story?" I was like, "Your addiction story?" I was like, "Absolutely." I was like, "Yeah, that's something that I have to do because that would give me a way to allow people to know that I'm human and I make mistakes and have made mistakes and still learning from them." And every day, like I said, is a struggle to use or not to use. It's a choice for me now at this point. It is not something I have to use to dull the pain or change the outlook of what I'm seeing or being able to make through all the things that I have to do on a daily basis. I don't have to be medicated to do those things. So, she was like, I'm ready to hear it. She said, "I'm ready to hear it." She's heard it before, but she loved to hear me tell that story because as she put it, she said, "That is a testimony for you. And you can't have a test if you can't have a testimony if you haven't had a test." So yeah, it has been, like I said, my journey has taken me a lot of places. It allowed me to meet a lot of amazing people. But I will tell you that there's help out there if you want it. It is a choice, like choosing to believe God or not. It is a choice. No one can force you to do anything you need and want to do for yourself. But I will tell you, it was the best decision that I made going into inpatient treatment to not get over it every day. I'm working on it, but they showed me the skills that I needed to do and use to stay on top of this. And one thing that a pastor told me, I never forget him, Pastor Cruz told me, he said, when you get to the point of like a dog and his tail, they're together, and your addiction is your tail. And when it gets to the point where the tail is wagging the dog and not the dog wagging the tail, that's when you know that you are out of control. That's when you know you have hit rock bottom. That's when you need to reach out to get help, because I do believe addiction is not something you can get over by yourself. You need to get connected with some sources that can help you through it. Definitely God as the forefront, but you need to be able to have someone to help you work through those tools, unpack those tools to get to what you need to get better. And it's huge on a daily basis. Like I said, I get to talk about and share my recovery story, and I'm honored to do so because I got to survive it. But what people don't understand, when using drugs and alcohol, it's one thing to use those physical things, but after you start going through the healing process, there are pains and hurts and things that come along as a result of using those drugs. And I also put bad relationships, being in toxic relationships with people as just a form of addiction as well, because I had to learn how to know who I am, know what is my triggers, and stay off and around those, or be able to work through those with the skills and help that I've been able to receive. Because if I know that a trigger for me is being in a relationship with a narcissistic person, I need to get away from that person and that relationship, because as a trigger, it is going to cause me to do certain things, medicate, fight, argue, all of that stuff. And those are things I don't want to do. Those are the road I don't want to go down because I've been down those roads. I know where they will lead. So that's where I would say you definitely need that help to be able to get you through your recovery process. And I'm speaking about recovery process, but I learned that sin is anything that takes you from the will of God. That's anything. That can be yourself, that can be your children, that can be your mate, that can be your job, that can be the situation that you're in, that can be the drugs that you're using. Those things, once again, are the fruit of the toxic, damaged, molested, victimized tree that you have been dealing with, carrying around, holding on to, putting on your back. And I always wonder, why do I attract toxic people? Because I was toxic. I was damaged. And being damaged doesn't give you the view and the skill set to be able to really look at who you have around you and know that misery loves company. And I need to get up out this situation so I can be the better person. And so I can not be attracting all of this craziness that is coming my way. A lot of times we point the finger at people when we need to turn in and look at that man or woman in the mirror and address that, because the problem lies and start with you. But through getting help, through identifying what the problem is, and you may not be able to, but like I said, at my brokenness, only thing I was able to say was, I need help, and reach out to that help, that environment, that foundation that has been around for long as I've been on this earth, and they were able to help me through the process. And there's also a church that I wanted to call out to that is in Jacksonville, Florida, Epiphany Baptist Church. That church, those old people loved on me, took care of me, ministered, fed me, gave me a sounding board to talk to. That was the church that I connected with when I was there going through my recovery. We had to go to church every Sunday. It didn't matter where you went to church, you had to go to church. And that was the church that was walking distance from the facility that I was in at McDuff. And the pastor and his wife and those old members took care of me. To this day, we're still in contact, and I thank God for that. I can reach out and say, hey, Pastor, hey, First Lady, how y'all doing? Happy anniversary. They just celebrated their marriage anniversary. So I reached out to them for that and let them know I was thinking about them, and I love them, and I thank them for what they did to me, because the man you see right here today wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. And I'm getting emotional now because every time I talk about my story, my addiction, it still lets me know that I'm still on that journey. If you're not getting emotional, that means that you are removed from it. And I don't ever want to be removed for that. But I want to thank them at Epiphany Baptist Church and City Rescue Mission, and both in Jacksonville, Florida, for taking care of me. I had to go away from everything that I knew and everybody that I knew to get that help. And I'm glad I did, because they didn't know me from Adam's cat or from a can of paint, but those people loved on me and took care of me and strengthened me to the point where I was able to stand up as a man and put my chest back out and be able to go anywhere. And after I finished recovery, I graduated from the program, told everybody thank you, and I loved them. And I moved to Washington, D.C. So it does work. It does work. Your program can work if you work your program. If you take the I out of it. And what do I mean that at it? Look at the issues, talk through. First, you have to talk through it with people, and they will be able to help you identify that you had a childhood, but your childhood was somewhat traumatic. Didn't say my mom didn't do the best that she could do. She did, but we were all trying to survive. And I learned that my childhood wasn't a typical childhood. It wasn't an environment where we were emotionally fed, because we were trying to survive. Trying to see how your emotional state and your emotion was not on the agenda. We were just trying to make it. Meaning my mom worked two and three jobs. My grandfather was there at home as our caregiver. We were just trying to make it from day to day and live. But I learned that through going through counseling and recovery that I didn't have the best childhood. But my mom did the best she could. And I thank her for that. And a lot of that stuff I had to work through. I had to learn how to be emotional. I had to learn how to say how I'm feeling and not come up from a place of anger. And if I did, let's unpack that. Let's talk about that. Why do you feel the way that you feel? Because you are valid in feeling that. But those things had to be addressed and worked on. And it was some of the hardest work that I ever had to do for myself. But it was worth it because, like I said, it was for me. It was for me. It was not for anyone else. It was for me. And I had to go as hard as I went for all of the businesses that I worked for and became number one in, and the relationships that I went over the call of duty for. I had to do that for me. And doing that for myself was something I had to learn how to do. And I'm still on a daily basis. Now, I will tell you real quick, if it's not feeding me, as a person, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to entertain it. This, what I'm doing right now with you guys, is feeding me as a person. It allowing me to get my story out there and be able to help others and let others know that you're not the only one going through what you're going through, nor will you be the only one going through it. But us working together as people, helping each other, sharing our stories, supporting each other is what's going to help us stay on top of these things, on top of this opioid addiction and other addictions that are out there in this world today. But I tell you, once again, I thank God. I thank God for keeping me as long as he have, because I could have been viewed and not looked at. Somebody would get the difference in that. Viewed instead of being looked at. So I owe that to him alone. And having that and knowing that, I'm going to use the rest of my days as trying to share this story and help people, let people know that you are not the only one who are going through what you're going through. You are not the scum of the earth. You are not any form of less than. You are just somebody that is going through a particular situation right now, but it can be fixed and remedied. Take the time to subscribe if you already haven't. Look for me on social media out there everywhere, because like I said, I'm trying to put this story out there and all of my stories out there. I have more stuff to come. Each week I will be discussing and talking about a topic. If anything you would like for me to discuss or talk about, or you would like to be join my panel, I would do have some co-hosts from time to time. You are welcome to do so. Right now, I'm going to drink some tea because talking for almost 20-some minutes, my throat is a little parched. But as I said, use this time to reach out. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me and my big mouth and my big head. I truly appreciate it. And please know I love you. I truly do. I love you guys. I have the love that God gave me for you guys. Take time to enjoy the view. As they say on The View, I love opening up my blinds and seeing the sunlight. That is truly a blessing, because someone went to bed last night, hoped to get up today, but they did not. So be a blessing if you can. Take care of yourselves and let's be great. Bye.